Hi traders, this is Taylor from thetradinganalyst.com. We're going to go over a couple of chart requests here, and I'm going to give my analysis and thought process. And most of these charts I'm going to look at, hopefully I won't have annotated, and the idea here is for you to see my thought process as I'm looking at the chart, potentially for the first time. We're going to go ahead and get started with GoPro. Obviously, GoPro is one that I have looked at before, so I already have some notes on it. What I want to look for here is some support between $14 and $13. You can see this was key resistance before, and then we broke over that right there. You also have this uptrend line. You can see we got nice bounces against this uptrend line, and right here looks like we might be seeing some short-term weakness here. And a retest below $14, in my opinion, would be a nice buy zone here on this stock. All right, let's get to the next chart. Let's check out UA. Under Armour. Okay, so a couple things that I'm seeing here. Obviously, I have looked at this stock before. We've got the downtrend line over here, and then we've got some support right here at about $39, and even more support below at about $35. The best area that I'm seeing in this little area is an opportunity near that $35, $36 mark, as I'm seeing some good support here. So between $39 and $35, this could be definitely a short-term buying opportunity. We've got a gap right here from this red candle that may want to fill, and then there's a gap down here that may want to fill too at about $36. So resistance up here, and I'm going to draw this other resistance right about there. You can see it got rejected here and here, so twice at that level. So pay attention to these supports and resistances if you're trading or investing in Under Armour. All right, next one, let's take a look at Apple. And obviously, Apple is one that I have looked at before as well. So Apple, I'm going to go to the weekly time frame because I feel like it's a lot easier to see what's going on here. So Apple, it's a really nice pattern that we formed here. We were in a downtrend since early 2015. You can see kept making lower highs, and the signal here, or a hint that we were going to break to the upside here, is these similar lows that we made. So here's a low right around 91, right around 91, 91, 91. Meanwhile, we're making lower highs here, so we were getting tighter and tighter. Lower highs, but the same lows, so we're getting tighter and tighter. Finally, we broke out of that compression, and we headed higher. So, in my opinion, Apple, longer term, I do think is going to be heading higher. In the very short term, it may want to come down and retest about 103 to 104, potentially all the way down to 100. So in my opinion, these are good buy zones between here and 100, because I do think that long run we are going to at least retest this 130 level up here. All right, let's get the next chart request. Let's check out IRMD. All right, let's see here what I can see for IRMD. All right, so I see a downtrend line. And if I'm looking here, see some pretty nice support at about just below $15, so about $14.50. You can see how many times it bounced here, here, here. And then as you can see over here, we had a lot of sideways trading action in that area as well. This level needs to hold for IRMD. Okay, so yeah, we're almost $5 above this level right now, but you need to keep an eye on this level. If we break $14, if you look here on this chart, you can see all this volume by price. Look at the bars, the gray bars, okay? These aren't just random bars or a secondary indicator. These are real things. Just like volume down here, this is volume at a certain price. So this is a lot of support and resistance. So we're in this range, so it's resistance. And it is support. This is the biggest support that we have here. And notice how if you look over here, the volume just drops off, okay? The volume by price. So there's not much support right there. So if it breaks this level, chances are it's going to move fast and hard very low. Okay, so that's why you need to keep an eye on this level. I'm not saying it's going there. I'm not saying it's going to break that. I'm just saying if it gets there, it's something that you definitely want to keep an eye on. All right, let's get to the next chart. Let's go to blue. All right, so blue, let's see what I can see here. So blue, first thing I'm seeing, some pretty good support around $37 or so dollars. You can see it's bounced from here, 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 and right here. And that was a nice little trend line break right here, and you can see that we broke over it, came back and retested it, and then bounced higher. Looks like in the short term, we could be seeing some short-term downside. But overall, this looks like a pretty nice chart. And could be looking for a bounce near that $44 range. We've got the 61.8% Fibonacci retracement level, and that's where these lows were right here. Could want to come back down and retest the trend line, but that $44 mark, in my opinion, would provide a pretty decent entry right there. If we break this $37 mark, I would not want to be long on this stock, but overall looks pretty decent here. I'm going to see if I can draw one more thing here. So we've got another downtrend line that I just saw right there. Okay, so it started up here in the middle of 2015, a year ago. Lots of touches right here. So longer term, looking like we are in a downtrend since the middle of 2015, but shorter term, I do think that we'll get a bounce from here because we are making a constructive bottom here. We bounce from here a lot of times, and I do think that a nice bounce zone between that $44 and $40 level is a good bounce zone. All right, let's check out the next chart. Let's go to AMAT. All right, AMAT is obviously one that I have looked at, and we're at the highs here. I'm going to go to the weekly time frame, and I'm wondering if this is all-time highs. No, okay, so this is not all-time highs for this stock, but you can see, and this is the monthly chart, you can see that we're over a bunch of resistance here for this stock, and this is a monthly candle, and this is the last day of the month, so this is the close of the monthly candle, which is a very nice looking monthly candle. So we can look for support between $24 and $26. In my opinion, that should get a nice bounce. And then we're looking at resistance up here near just above $50. Okay, so support at about 25, and then we've got resistance up here at 51. Another thing that you want to look at here, and then zoom out, is the volume at price, the volume by price. And look at all this. The biggest volume by price bar right here, and we surpassed that. Okay, so we broke over that huge resistance. definitely looks like AMAT can be heading higher since we broke over that big resistance and it's the biggest volume by price bar. Definitely a great looking overall chart. Definitely think it can retest that level up there at 51. All right, I'm going to choose one here, PSEC. All right, looks like I have looked at this one. This is the monthly chart. And we've got that downtrend line just ahead of us. And I'm going to keep it on the monthly chart just because it is a pretty nice level here. So just want to keep it here. So we've got resistance at about $10 or so, just below $10 from the downtrend line. You can see that it started right here, touches, and then we're coming up to that level right now. And also, if you look here, it's the biggest volume by price bar right here, just above $10. So that's where the most volume has been traded on this stock. So since we're below it, that's going to be big resistance, and it's something that you want to be aware of. All right, let's check out Verizon VZ. All right, I'm going to go back to the daily time frame here. And I'm going to delete all these drawings and start fresh on this one. Sometimes it's best to do that, especially if you haven't looked at it for a little while. Okay, so first thing that I'm going to try to see is so right around $50, give or take a few dollars, I'm seeing a lot of support. See how many bounces we've gotten off of this level, and then over here it was resistance. Resistance, yeah, it broke over a little bit. That's why it's kind of a range here. So we can just make it a range, between right there, 51 to 49 is that range that's going to be a big, huge support. And you can see it by the volume by price bar right here. It's the biggest volume by price bar. So no coincidence that we've seen a lot of touches to that level. That's really the main thing that I'm seeing right here. We're not seeing huge selling here. It's kind of orderly. Definitely think that we can get a bounce, by $49, especially with that decent 200 moving day average right there as well. So we'll see what happens, but definitely keep an eye on those things on that chart. All right, let's check out SKLN. All right, so SKLN, I always like to say with these penny stocks, they are pretty hard to do technical analysis on. Not a lot of volume on them, so lower volume issues tend to not work as well. So main thing I'm seeing, a lot of volume coming into the stock, so that's obviously a positive. This is pretty huge volume for this stock and well above the average volume. Seeing a lot of support at about 13 cents, and then big time resistance up here at about 243. I know this is a big ways away, but that's what I'm seeing on this stock right here. All right, let's take a look at Wuba. All right, so Wuba, so definitely a downtrend here, as you can see. And then another thing that I'm seeing right here, so we're right in between some key levels. Pretty much right where the low of the day was is where we hit that. Look at how many touches we've gotten against this trend line here. And we're right there. So we'll see what it does with it, but definitely if I was bullish on this stock, I'd want it to hold this level. And this is definitely a good risk-reward area to get long. We've got this gap up here. It may want to fill, and that is still going to be resistance if we do get a bounce from this trend line. All right, let's take a look at TPLM. All right, TPLM, obviously one that I have looked at before. You can see that it keeps on getting bounces, keeps on getting bounces. Again, with these penny stocks, not as easy to determine the direction of this trade. But we do have an uptrend line right here, and we're pretty much right at this level right here. So I definitely want to see this level hold. But again, you know, I'm not putting a ton of weight on this as it is pretty much a penny stock. All right, let's take a look at Chipotle. All right, so Chipotle, you can see here we did run into this downtrend. You can see touch here, touch here, touch there, here, almost there, here, and just recently right there. But if you noticed, we have kind of a falling wedge look here on the lower side. You can see we have a touch here, here, and right here. So looks like it could break out longer term, and you really want to see it hold over this downtrend line. So if we can get a bounce tomorrow and hold over the downtrend line, then we can see a breakout on Chipotle. Or if it doesn't hold here and break over, then we can get a low risk entry down here at about 388 to 380 and then play for the breakout above that trend line. If it breaks below this trend line, below, let's call it 376, then I would not want to be long this stock. I'm going to do a couple more. All right, let's go with Disney. And Disney, we're right at a support. You can see we bounced from it right here, as well as right here. But not a great level, to be honest with you. But we could get a bounce from there. But as you can see, we've only got 1, 2 bounces from this level. Kind of trading all over the place. It's obviously not a trending stock, so it's a little bit harder to trade. And I haven't traded it for quite some time for that exact reason. You know, because we're making some erratic moves. They're harder to predict and harder to trade with. We haven't really been, you know, you can see that this is somewhat of a flat 200-day moving average. And usually when that happens, you know, stocks are trading kind of sideways. So sideways moving average, sideways trading, kind of no interest in it that I'm seeing personally. All right, let's take a look at JetBlue, and that'll be the last one that I'm going to do. So JetBlue, a couple things that you want to see here. We've got this downtrend line right here, touch, 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 touch right there. And then if you look right here, I'm going to have to go to the weekly time frame. Okay, so this is a really nice uptrend line. Look at how many bounces we've had and how long this trend line has been valid since 2011. So about 5 years here we've had this trend line, and we're right at it right now. So we bounced from it over here, earlier this year, and then we're at it right now. So this is kind of a must-hold level for JetBlue. Overall, it looks pretty decent for a bounce. But you never know. So short term, definitely looks like it could bounce. And then we've got that resistance from the downtrend line. So these are the levels that you want to pay attention to if you're trading or investing in JetBlue. All right, guys, thank you for watching. Appreciate it as always, and I will see you next time.